Tina, a new cook, worked the graveyard shift at a 24-hour Texas diner. At 2 a.m., the place was empty, the neon sign buzzing outside. The kitchen felt off, the air cold despite the griddle's heat. As she prepped burgers, a whisper said her name from the walk-in freezer. She checked, finding only frozen meat. Her spatula was gone, replaced by a blood-stained one. The griddle flared, cooking a burger she hadn't placed. The whispers grew, saying, "Serve it." Tina's heart raced. She blamed the late hour, but a shadow moved behind the counter, too tall for a man. Her phone died, and grease on the counter formed the word, "Stay." Tina turned off the griddle, but it flared again, the burgers sizzling black. The whispers became a voice, "Feed them." The counter shook, and plates arranged themselves, each with a blackened burger. A man's figure appeared by the griddle, his apron greasy, face shadowed. Tina's radio switched to static, then a voice, "Stay and serve." Her flashlight flickered, revealing a name tag, Hank, 1965. The air grew heavy, smelling of burnt meat, and the man's eyes glowed yellow, staring at her. Tina backed away, but the freezer door swung open, cold air forming a face in the mist. The man pointed, the spatula levitating, dripping blood. Tina tried to leave, but the diner's door was locked, the key gone. The man's form grew solid, flipping burgers that appeared from nowhere. The whispers chanted, "Serve forever." The burgers pulsed, faces forming in the meat, screaming silently. Tina grabbed a flashlight, its beam making the man flicker, but he moved closer, his hands reaching. Shadows of customers appeared, their faces blank, holding plates. The griddle roared, flames licking high, and the air grew thick, pulling Tina toward the counter. She swung the flashlight, the light burning the man's form, but the burgers multiplied, their faces watching her. The kitchen warped, the counter stretching, the door receding. The man's laughter filled the air, and the shadows closed in, their touches freezing. Tina's flashlight dimmed, and the griddle's flames formed a figure, mimicking the man's movements. The burgers spilled, forming a pool that trapped her feet. The man whispered, "Serve it," and the shadows chanted, their hands guiding hers to the griddle. Tina fought, swinging the flashlight, but the air grew thick, pulling her toward the flames. The griddle's glow formed a door, and the shadows' faces twisted, their voices roaring her name. Tina ran to the freezer, but the door slammed shut, locking her in. The whispers echoed, "Serve forever." Shelves rattled, meat falling, forming a face on the floor. The man's figure appeared through the door's window, his eyes glowing brighter. Tina's flashlight flickered, revealing old menus listing Pain Burgers, dated 1965. The air grew colder, and the man's voice said, "You belong here." The freezer walls pulsed, closing in, and the meat levitated, circling her. Tina screamed, banging on the door, but it burned her hands, the lock melting under her touch. The freezer door burst open, and Tina stumbled back to the kitchen, the man waiting by the griddle. His form flickered, revealing a charred face, and he spoke. He was Hank, a cook who died in a grease fire in 1965, his spirit trapped, hungry for company. The burgers pulsed, faces screaming, and the shadows grew, their hands clawing. Tina saw flashes of the fire, flames engulfing Hank, his screams echoing. The air grew suffocating, and the man's hand gripped her wrist, burning cold. The griddle's flames formed a door, pulling her toward it, the shadows chanting her name. The kitchen looped, the griddle reappearing wherever Tina ran. The man's form grew larger, his eyes black voids, growling, "You're ours." The counters pulsed, spatulas levitating, and the shadows merged into a writhing mass. Tina's flashlight dimmed, and the burger pool trapped her feet. She saw flashes of other cooks, their faces in the burgers. The air grew thick, smelling of ash, and the man's laughter echoed, his form flickering between the griddle and the door. Tina fought, swinging the flashlight, but the mass closed in, their hands freezing her skin. The griddle's flames erupted, forming a wall that blocked the exit. The man's form towered, his spatula swinging, grazing Tina's arm, leaving a cold burn. The shadows chanted, "Serve forever," their faces twisting into grotesque masks. Tina's vision blurred, her body heavy, as the kitchen seemed to breathe, its walls pulsing. She threw a plate, which passed through the man, but her flashlight's beam burned his form, making him shriek. The burger pool grew, pulling her down, and the shadows climbed the walls, their hands reaching from above. Tina screamed, fighting to stay upright, the flames closing in. The grill's flames erupted, forming a fire extinguisher from the exit. She sprayed it, the foam disrupting the man's form, grazing Tina's shadows, leaving a cold burn. The flames faltered, the shadows chanted, "Serve forever." Their faces twisting into grotesque masks, its light burning the man's form, making him scream louder. As the kitchen seemed to breathe, its walls counters shaking as if in pain. She threw a plate, which ran for the door, but her flashlight's beam burned the shadows at bay, making him shriek. The man's form flickered violently, his voice a roar, and the shadows climbed the walls. Tina kicked the door, reaching from above, which cracked open. Tina screamed, light seeping through, to stay weakening upright, his grip. The flames closing in. As Dawn's flames flooded the kitchen, forming a wall that blocked the exit. His screams silenced. The man's form towered. Tina stumbled into the lot, grazing Tina's arm shut behind her. A cold burn. The burgers and the shadows were gone. "Serve forever." Their faces twisting into grotesque masks, learning later of a cook named Hank who died in a grease fire in 1965. Its walls still smells burnt meat in her dreams, which whispers to return, but her flashlight's beam burned lingering in her mind, making him shriek. The burger pool grew, pulling her down, and the shadows climbed the walls, their hands reaching from above. Tina screamed, fighting to stay upright, the flames closing in. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you can stay updated with more amazing stories coming your way. Join our community and never miss an adventure.